As parents, when we're dealing with our children, my first advice is know your child, know the personalities, because that helps you in dealing with them. What works for A does not necessarily work for B, even if you have both A and B as your children. In my house, you can come to someone old enough to be your grandfather and say, hi. It's not acceptable. But when you leave those details out, and then the child comes, hi mom, I want to say hi to your friends, and you are looking all blue in the face. No, don't look blue. You never set the rules.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Be Inspired with Tolulope. This is a place to be educated, informed, motivated, most importantly, to be inspired. My guest today is a medical doctor who currently works in a clinical research. A parent for over 25 years, currently single. She's a founder of Word of a Parent, a parenting coaching organization that helps parents navigate both personal and parenting issues without judgment. She's also the founder of a non-profit organization called Carry Me Global Corporation, a NGO that helps parents and their children through particularly difficult times. What's so interesting about my guest is because she's passionate about empowering parents to raise great and emotionally balanced children without letting go of their personal dreams. So welcome, Dr. Tolu. I'm super excited to have you here. I know your schedule is not kind of friendly for me, but you were able to squeeze out time and then make this happen. I'm so happy to have you here. By the way, how is the weather there? How is it?
Thank you, Wumi, for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the topic of today. Well, the weather is cold. that's the short answer. We had some snow about 2 days ago. We still have snow on the ground, and it's cold here. But
Yeah,
that, it's
yeah.
spirit of Christmas is in the air, so
Yeah, that's good. So, today's conversation is, I want it to be so fun because I'm a parent and then, there's no one formula to parenting. So I just want to tap your own, your own knowledge in this space. I haven't read your biography. There's a whole lot. I might commend you. You're actually doing a great job. I'm really inspired by your story. I'm really impressed being a single mom. You were able to follow your dream and then be you, and then helping other parents to be more, which is really really amazing. But can you please explain to me how you get to this space in your career? How was the journey?
thank you again so much, Wumi. The journey has been interesting, to say the least. It's been, I want to say, similar to a lot of people's journeys. I'm really grateful to God, and I'm grateful to my parents, actually, because when you mix parenting into it, that's a completely different ball game. But I growing up, I had always wanted to be a physician. I had wanted to be a medical doctor. I just liked healthcare. I liked helping people. My mom is a retired nurse. My father was an engineer. But for me, that was always what I wanted to do. But you know how things are education wise in Nigeria. When I went to college, I was pretty young. I didn't get in for medicine. And with the logistics and how things were going, I decided I was going to finish my first degree. And then I went back to study medicine. Now, between my first degree and my second degree, which was medicine, was when I had my child. But I'm one of the very blessed ones. My parents made the journey that much easier because they were in full charge of my daughter at the time. Of course, I always saw her like every 2 weeks, but that I went back to med school, finished med school, and then took my child and we relocated to the United States. I decided I wanted to do that. And with that, even though when I got here, I still had my master's, I got my master's, my MBA at Johns Hopkins. And that, instead of getting me into like management or whatever, got me into clinical research. And so I've been in clinical research. I went ahead and did my postdoc after that, still in research. And so as far as the career path goes, that was how, sequentially it went. But with being a parent in the mix of it, it was tough, especially when you're in a new environment, in a new world. If you know anything about the Western world, about the US, I initially didn't have any papers. And so it was a bit tough. But my policy in life, the way I look at life is life can get you down, but it doesn't have to stop you. You might fall, you might have a setback, just keep moving forward. So for me, it was all about those goals, just keep going towards your goals, even when it was tough. And by the time everything evens out, you will not be starting from zero. So yes, it was as a single parent, it was a bit tough, but by God, I'm where I am today.
Oh, that's really good. Your story is it's amazing, you know. A lot of people they plan to, because I remember when I was much younger I wanted to be a doctor, and I wasn't able to become one, but I'm so happy for the career path I've chosen.
So
My question is that was it because your mom is a nurse, that is why you have interest in becoming to work in that kind of field?
absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. The thing is, I did grow up around the hospital, but my dad, you know how it is. He was always interested, but his interest really didn't have anything to do with my ability to be able to do it. But I had
Right.
just I had to live my life around the hospital. Truth is, even me, I was also, a patient a lot. But for whatever reason, I latched on to wanting to help people, make people feel better, do it, impact lives in a way that people will go from bad to better. And it had just been a desire and it never left me.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. That's amazing field. It requires a lot of dedication and a passion. So, how do you establish what is the motivation around the world of parents, your company? Why do you establish that organization?
Well, the short answer is that came about from the struggles and the challenges that I had as a single parent, or that I was having then. It started out with, the things I experienced with my child growing up, because I found out in a hard way that what you hear or all the advices from outside cannot and does not always measure up or accurate, or nor are they accurate with the way you have to, as a parent, have to raise your child. I found out the hard way because I found myself, life of a parent doesn't come with a manual. And I found out that I was having a lot of issues with my daughter back then. She's always been a great student, a great child. We've never had issues with school until this day. I actually tell her brother, I say the one thing that I never had to monitor with my daughter was her education, her academics. She was always dedicated, always focused. But she, when it comes to social life and interaction and behavior outside and everything, I always thought something was wrong. She always thought something was wrong with me because things will be going on. Somebody will have an opinion outside Tolu will think that's, okay, the pressure of you must not be a good parent, or you must not be handling this child well, or you're too soft, or you're too. That was all I was hearing, forgetting the fact that these people talking are only seeing a snapshot of here and now. They don't know
Right.
where the conversation started from, what influenced her behavior, what challenges, And little did I also know then that because an adult is going through a hard phase in life, does not mean, regardless of if you're able to provide the basic needs of life for your children, it doesn't mean they're also not going through. So they are balancing life in their own realm, in their own world. But we as adults, we usually just think it's us and nothing else. And they are fine as long as we are making provisions. So all these little things played a role. And it took me a while because I will want to appropriate the advice from outside or the comments, not even advice, comments. I would want to appropriate it into my parenting, and I would meet with this brick wall, or it just felt as if things were slipping out of my hands. Either maybe I was the one that was not right, or my daughter was not right, or both of us were just, it was a mess until I figured out that every situation and every day is different, and you have to measure your parenting with every other thing surrounding you, your child, and your circumstances. And so with the struggles, and coming to now realize that it was painful, I just felt this burden that there are parents out there that are suffering in silence like me. And so I went ahead and created a Facebook group, actually, an online group where parents, with a single parent in mind, I might add, can come in a non-judgmental environment and feed off of each other's experiences and wisdom and knowledge and counsel, and one parent to the other helping out. But then back then we used to be called Parenting Wisely. I quickly realized that it was not a problem of single parents alone.
Right.
Parenting challenges are universal. And so we went from there and grew from there. And a couple of years ago, we rebranded and became World of a Parent at that point. And so now we're all inclusive. But if I may add, we have in the pipelines something specifically for single parents just once more.
Oh, that's great. So you say something that, you're comparing this child to the other child. Don't you feel that sometimes the environment, the people, the community actually also help people to raise their children? Because sometimes you can actually see it's hard. Hearing from parents A, but from parents B, it could help you to actually, as a feeling that gap that you're not actually paying attention to. Don't you think that is not also a bad idea for parents to hear from other parents on how they raise their child, or they have inputs in the way you raise your child?
Very good question, Bumi. And there's a place for that. Absolutely. And you know what? That's one of the things that in my opinion, I consider a blessing when you're an African. There is a place for feeding off of the knowledge, the wisdom, the advice of other parents. But the issue is, because you asked specifically about single parents, there's already a pressure on you. Honestly, for all parents, there's already this pressure of, I must do it right. My child must turn out right.
Right.
No mistakes at all. There is a goal that I have set and all of that. So when we have this pressure going on, and then there's this unsaid rule that once you're a parent, you must know it all. You must never have questions. You must never, and that's where the mud kind of is riled up, because when you are going with the notion of I must never ask questions, you begin to have to figure out and sift through, if you even know to sift through the information you're getting from outside. Sometimes, truth be told, sometimes it's an honest opinion or a sincere
Right.
advice or comment. But you have to realize that you and your child, you have other factors acting on you that they may not be privy to. So even though they're saying things or passing comments or even advising you, there may be things in your circumstance, your relationship with your child, in the child's life, in your life, that are playing on what that person is seeing in real time. And because they don't have that information, they may have said what they said, it may not entirely match what's going on with you. And so if you take that raw advice and apply it to your parenting, instead of making things better, it might make things worse. What do I
Right.
mean? Let me give you an example. You have a child, you have a 10-year-old child that, let's say you're a woman, you're a mom, you have a 10-year-old child, you're a single mom, the child is dealing with the dad, not being there, maybe communicating with the child. There is a lot of raw emotions going on. And let's say this particular day, the child had just spoken to his or her dad, and things didn't quite go well. Remember, there's no child that doesn't want both parents. This is an absentee parent. The child is not having a good time or a good relationship, or even just getting through to this parent. And now you go outside and the child maybe asks for something and you said no, because you are also feeling the emotion. Remember, there's a rawness about it that no matter how you cover it, you're feeling. And so you said no, your daughter or your son rolls their eye or stomps off. It's not a standalone, I asked for something you didn't give me. That reaction is feeding from a lot of emotions. And now a bystander is saying, oh no, you can't take that from no child. Why will that child stomp off? Now, I didn't say stomping off was okay. But you have to understand that this child is now dealing with a lot of raw emotions in that moment. So oh no, if I were you, that child would be getting a dirty slap from me right now. And you want to do that, you've just made matters worse.
Oh, nice. So, speaking of what you just said now, is there a yardstick to measure how a parent is doing? If I'm actually doing well, or I'm doing not so good. Is there a yardstick for a parent?
When I hear that question, it sounds to me like, and a lot of people default to that, comparing themselves to other people. And the first warning I issue to parents, don't try to be like the Joneses. The truth is, as individuals, we are really our own selves yardsticks, because creating a progress checkpoint for yourself should be based on, one, your goals, your personal goals for you, for your relationship with your child, for the child. But you alone know the things that will make you set such goals. Because in setting goals, you have to understand that one child is different from the other. What are your child's strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the circumstantial factors that could impact the goal? So you now saying a yardstick, it has to be, I would call it a progress measure. And progress measure, for it to be successful,
Right.
needs to be based on you as a person, on that child. But we should be our own selves yardstick. And that's the only way you can measure your progress. Yardsticks are really supposed to be progress measures. And you know where you started from. You know the goals you've set. You know how far you've gone on that range for your goal. And I think that's the safest way to set your own yardsticks. Because as long as you're measuring yourself with the Joneses, or you're making the Joneses, and when I say the Joneses, the other person, your yardstick. There is a lot of room for errors, and there's a lot of room to actually sour the good that you already have.
So another question I really want to know is a lot of parents want to build a great relationship with our children. We want them to feel comfortable with us. We don't want them to build relationship with someone else. We want to be in their life and they want to let them know what is going on. Should there be a limit to what parent could expose their children to, in order not to either lose them or not to expose them to too much information?
They has we as parents, we live with a lot of unsaid rules that are just floating in the air. We don't know the genesis of them, and we just carry on like that. But in this day and age, what I tell parents is, first of all, the way you manage your parenting, your children, your home, has to be based on you. And when I say you, I mean you, your children, your caucus. Why? Because when we're dealing with children, we say children, or my child, or my children, and we forget that these are individuals. These are human beings. They have personalities. And with each time point in their lives, they have their own mini challenges, they have their own mini goals, believe it or not. They have things they're dealing with. You're talking about a school age. Oh, I have to do my homework. Maybe they give them gifts for perfect attendance, for example. I have to make my perfect attendance, regardless of the parent that is making the attendance possible. Or now there's peer pressure, there's competition, and then there's home, there are chores, there's all these things. And so, as parents, when we're dealing with our children, my first advice is know your child, know the personalities, because that helps you in dealing with them. What works for A does not necessarily work for B, even if you have both A and B as your children. But the best way is, one, know them. Now, as a parent, we're all over the place. I want to be the judge. I want to be the jury. I want to be the friend, but I want to be the boss or the instructor or the teacher, and there's room for everything. Balancing it becomes the question, it becomes the issue. So when you know this child, you know who they are, how they react, what they are, what they're like when they're happy, when they're sad, when they're scared, when they have questions. This will help you navigate dealing with them. Another thing that I tell parents, no child is too young to communicate with. We all drop the ball when it comes to communicating with our children. Because when you build a good line of communication between your children and you as a person, as a parent, you are you open yourself up to being accountable, to being because it's hard to be a model. We throw the words around anyhow, but you have to be accountable to your actions. You have, when you're open to these things, dealing with that child and making demands of that child becomes easier. And then we need to create in that, yes, we want to be the parent and be able to say yes or no. But we also have to give our children the chance to live, live free of us in terms of making mistakes. So when you have a communication line open, when you have where you know the personalities of your children, you can then begin to balance these things in terms of how much you open up to them in one area versus the other. But the one thing is that communication has to be built, and it does not mean you are no longer the parent.
There is no notion that you can be a friend and also a parent, but you can be a whole lot in your children's life. That's the top notch. So we have a lot of people, parents that send their children abroad to school at I won't call it a tender age, maybe from 10. they are not quite in that child's life, and then they've already one way or the other disconnected with the child or with the children, you know. So how can a parent reconnect back with the children after they've already separated them at the tender age?
This speaks a lot more to a lot of parents, and this is actually like a point to help a lot of parents that you just made. First of all, I know Africans, when we think about it, we just want to give that child a better life. And sometimes it's also, this is what Mr. A and Madam B are doing, I must also do as well. Sending a child away from you that early, I know circumstances are different, don't get me wrong, but sending a child away from you for a tender age is challenging. And if we can avoid that, we will avoid a lot of headaches. And what do I mean by that? Because that child cannot protect himself or herself at that age. And you're sending the child, and I know people say, oh, but I trust my friend. I'm just going to put this child up with my friend or with another family for them to live in another country because of the better
Hmm.
life. That's clause number one. If it can be avoided, honestly, it should be avoided. I am not an advocate of people separating from their children. Now, there are extenuating circumstances, there are situations that are beyond our control. And I know that those exist as well. Now, moving, moving off of that, if the child has been sent abroad, let me unpack this in two different ways. If this is like a fresh thing, an ongoing thing, the best thing you can do with that child to avoid a future disconnect is to not disconnect. However you want to do it, there has to be a
Hmm.
constant communication with that child. And when I say communication, it's not just verbal communication. When you deal with a child, the child is growing in a different culture, in a different space, with different people now impacting their lives. And so you're not going to expect that child to be the same or to have the same views in life as you or as your known culture and traditions. Ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. A 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and becomes 22 years old and you're expecting to speak the same language. It's not going to happen. So you as a parent, the only way you can ensure that that child still carries on the values that you want is to be the one to keep impacting those values. In my house, the one rule is you don't come meet an older person and say hello or hi. No, I'm sorry. I'm an African
Hmm.
mom. You need to be able, you can come to someone old enough to be your grandfather and say hi. It's not acceptable. But that, I had to work with my children from the beginning that, I don't care. We live in America, but when you see someone older than you are, you better be on your knees or you better be prostrating. And that's how we have it.
Hmm.
But when you leave those details out, and then the child comes, you have four friends around, and the child says, hi, mom. Maybe hi, mom is okay with you. That's your in house culture. Hi, mom, I want to say hi to your friends, and you are looking all blue in the face. No, don't look blue. You never set the rules. So with them, and I won't entirely
Hmm.
blame that child because it was not something you set with them. My daughter, she came to the US very,
Wow.
very young. And so I always tease her, like, I say, you are now a kata. That sometimes, and but the thing is, she sees her grandmother, good afternoon, grandma, or good morning, grandma, not hi. That's not flying.
Yeah, I think that is a disconnect from some parents. Some parents really don't know exactly the kind of output they want. They don't really define it. You say something, being an African mom, this is what you want. You don't say I. Yeah, you were able to define it, and then this is the kind of thing I want. Being an African mom, there's nothing that I and all that. So the greeting have to be either you kneel down as a lady or you prostrate as a man. You know, that is actually a place I feel that some parents get disconnected.
That is
Even
where
if
I
even if
feel
the
that
child
is the
doesn't go
area.
all the
Yes,
way
ma'am.
on both knees in the snow, even if you curtsy, but that has to be there. This is what we are. This is how we differentiate greeting an older person and your mate. So even if you curtsy, good afternoon, man, good evening, sir, that's still acceptable than hi. Oh no, you're not saying hi to no older person around me.
Yeah, I think I really love that. There's what we were talking earlier. You said something about which I want you to expatiate on. Like allow your children to understand who you are. Allow your children to understand the kind of home they came out from. Allow your children to know that this is how we do our thing. We're not going to be like A or B. This is who we are. With that, it builds the children self-confident. So could you please elaborate on this for me a bit?
One of the things that I've seen over the years about, especially us modern day parents, is this constant comparison of ourselves to other parents or of our children to other children. Again, I call it trying to be like the Joneses. You're doing a lot of
Right.
disservice to yourself and to the child if if you have to live by the standard of the Joneses. Why? Because if you cannot live life within your means and bring your children along to own what they have, appreciate what they have, and live, stand tall, stand tall, be confident in what they have and with what they have, and be appreciative, actually. Appreciation is another thing. Kids today, they tend to take things for granted because we make them to believe that they must. It's a must. It's that you must have this. A has an iPad, so must you. Oh no. What if you can afford an iPad? And people they've made it such that, oh, but why would you not be able to afford an iPad? And we live in this bubble, in this illusion of, even when those things are beyond the parents' reach, we make it seem as if it's a problem or it's a fault or for the parent not to be able to afford these things when they're really luxuries. We make it such that they are they are the basic needs of life. No, they are not. And if you're not careful, if we don't learn to set expectations with our children, to build them up to be comfortable with what they have and be proud of what they have, with the knowledge that they can get to anywhere they want to in life and set them up for success, they are never going to be able to stand with their head raised no matter what they have. It's going to be a
That is
life of
so true.
comparison. It's going to be a life of, I want to be like that person. And they're going to get there and realize
Wow.
that there's another shiny thing, and then another shiny thing, and then another shiny thing.
Hmm.
But if you
Hmm.
set your kids up to know that it's not in the Gucci or in the iPad or whatever, I'm not saying don't give your children the good things of life. Do those things within your means and carry them along and make them
Yes.
really comfortable with what they have. Make them confident in themselves. That when they get out there and you are not there to defend them, they will be able to start. In fact, the other kids, because kids can be mean to each other, but they will not get the chance to pull them down because they're already standing tall.
That is very important because you allow your children to appreciate what they have, because it also builds their self-confidence if you really look at it. I don't, okay, you have a Gucci, you have this, your father have the, okay, that's fine. Does it make actually people happy? If you let them understand as a parent that material things doesn't define your happiness, it should, so they won't tie their life into all those material things because they will feel that until they have it. And then because as a parent we also need to set out a pathway for the children, you understand.
We also must learn to be kind to our children. What we take these things for granted. What do I mean by, we need to learn to appreciate those children and let them know that the little things they are doing, that they have, means something. That way, they're not going to look down. They're not going to say, oh, but what do I have? Or I don't do anything that is worth noticing. We need to learn to appreciate our children, praise them for the good that they've done. It's not all about correcting them with every bad thing. We need to learn thank you
Right.
with our children, praise them, say thank you,
Right.
say please to them. Let them have a sense of self, that they are not free for all. It's okay, they are of value. When you value them from home, they walk confident, knowing that they are of value. It doesn't make you any less a parent when you say please and thank you to your child. You're just building the child for the future.
Right. You say something that we should be kind to them. I will give you my one example. My daughter in school, she know that I'm so into her grade. I want to see how she's progressing. For one of her subjects that she was really strong, like she's very strong with math, and that particular time she couldn't get a great grade. And then the reason being that because she missed class for 2 weeks, we had network issue. And then she came when she showed me her results. She felt so sad because she was scared. Like, how will my parent react? How will I had to, like, oh, Tamilore, no, it's okay. The issue was because you were unable to connect in class for 2 weeks, so definitely it's going to have negative impact on your grade. It's okay to make mistake. Okay, what you just need to do is read your book, call phone, read your notes, and then she feel good. Looking at her after that conversation, she felt so relieved. I think the word of kind, and then realizing that they are also human, they are growing, they are forming. Whatever we do, we say into their life, it build bond. So that is why all those positive words, training them from home, it is very important.
I also wanted to throw something in with what you said about them, it being okay for them to make mistakes. That's a big point. That's a whole topic in and of itself. We need to help our children understand that it's okay to fail. Failing forward is what we want to teach them. You don't fail and sit there. You don't fail and make that failure a crutch in life, that, okay, because I failed, that's why I can't move forward. We need to help them understand that life is about wins, successes, and failures and losses. So, but we just need to help them know that when you fail forward. Fail learning what you did wrong, and then be stronger from it and move forward.
Yeah, that go back to our conversation, letting your children understand that it's not all that good. There will be time that there will be, like, I won't be able to afford this luxury. Let them understand what is going on. Be transparent with them. Let them know that this is what we can afford. That is how we can do it now. With that, they is building them. They will understand all that. Oh, it's actually okay to fail. The most important thing is that you must keep on moving. So So another one that I really want you to touch with just before you leave, my last question to say is we have a lot of single parents. It's not by design, right? They found themselves in that space. It's not what they wanted. And then for some people that have chosen to be, okay, from day one, I don't want to have a man, I just want to be a single mother, right? So sometimes it's kind of overwhelming trying to raise a child due to the environmental expectation, and then also trying to succeed as a career woman or as a business person, right? And then, the pressure is getting too much on them. What is your word for them? Because you, as an individual, you are a single mom for years. You were able to raise two amazing children, right? So, what is your advice for them?
It was, I want to put it like that, an unfortunate thing because I refuse to believe that that the tide is still the same. I think we're changing the tides. At least that's what World of a Parent is about. But it was an issue in the past with how the society, it's still an issue with how the society views single parents. But what I tell parents, single parents of today, is that it will be a colossal mistake on your part if you allow the expectations and the negative words of the world around you to break your belief that you can be the best, that you can be a success, and that your children can be great. Because there's the society, especially African society, they go around
Right.
with these words of once you're a single parent, your kids cannot rise to the height God has called them to rise to, or that you can even be a success as a person. But I tell parents, every parent that I come across, and parents that come, for my coaching, that if you want to work with me, throw that out the window. Do not let anybody plant the seed of you cannot be good, or you cannot achieve, or that your children cannot be the best. That's number one. The second thing is, as a single parent, I know it's tough. Parenting itself is tough. Now, you becoming a single parent, whether by design or otherwise, or by accident, or by, something really ugly or bitter or, sad, you will not serve yourself well as a single parent if you allow whatever the event is or the struggle that you're going through in the here and now, if you allow it to kill your goals and your dreams. I tell single parents, the only way to ensure the success, or one of the ways to ensure the success of those children, to ensure that they reach the height in life that you want them to reach, is for you not to stop. You cannot afford to forget your life, put it on the back burner because you're a single parent. And now, some people so allow the negatives around them and the struggles they're going through in the here and now to affect them so much that they believe they have no right to a good life anymore. They have no right to make
Correct.
progress. And I tell people, you have to make that decision. It's hard. It's
Right.
tough. And you know what, Wumi? I like to be transparent because it's very easy to talk the talk. But I tell people, I'm not saying this because I don't understand. I don't understand that you don't have. I don't understand that, life is tough where you're at. I have been in a situation where I've worked more than 2 jobs. I've been in a situation where I would come in at night and all I can do is drink water. I had food, but I just wanted to have enough sleep before getting out to go to work the next day. I've had a situation in life where I've had to ask for $20 from a fellow worker in church because I had nothing. So I understand, but I tell parents, you have to keep your dreams alive. You have to keep your goals alive. It may be baby steps. It may look like you're taking 3 steps forward and 2 backwards. you have to celebrate the one. You've gained one step. So keep going. You have to keep moving. And then lastly, what I like to tell parents is carry your children along. Communicate with them. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Be honest and be accountable. You cannot ask of your children what you're not ready to give. That is not to say you don't have an edge, but do not ask of your children what you're not ready to give. They are reading the situation. They are soaking in what's going on. They are going to, if I look at some point in their lives that they're out of balance, oh, they don't get it, they don't understand. But trust me, as you're sowing the seeds, it's germinating and it will yield its fruits later. Those seeds will yield later. If you have a spouse and the separation is ugly and you are the only one taking care of the children, the biggest mistake you can make is to demonize that spouse or even the partner with the child. Don't do it. Whether they're good or they're bad. If they're good, the child will see the good. If they're bad, trust me, you don't need to help it along. They will expose themselves by themselves in due time to that child. But if you're talking bad about the other parent, you're putting the child in a precarious situation. You're making the child, you're forcing the child to choose between the two. No child wants to be without a parent. So don't even bother demonizing the other person with your child as a single parent.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. You've dropped a whole lot of amazing word. Like me as a parent, I'm going to pick a whole lot from this conversation to make use of. You said something that I love. You said that we should not ask our children what we can give. We should be able to also give what we expected from them. We should be able to do the same thing, which is very, very important. They will feel like, oh, is it a child? They're a child. They should be able to do it. Can you do it as a parent? Can you do it where you didn't do that even when you were growing up? So it's that one is a great nugget. I really appreciate your time for being here today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you grab a lot from Dr. Tolu. She said a lot that actually resonated with me. As a parent, it is our responsibility to train our children and then to know the kind of outputs we want in them. We shouldn't compare them with other kids. They are uniquely made. I'll see you next time on Be Inspired with Tolu. Bye for now. Hey there, have you subscribed? Please remember to subscribe to this channel